So do you think this high regard you obviously have for education came from your parents, or was it just like an inner thing? Like were you brought up knowing that learning was really important?
Yeah, I definitely grew up with that in mind, especially because my parents used to always repeat it to us. It's me and my younger brother. They used to always point that out whenever they could. They were like, you gotta finish school, because, you know, you don't wanna have a 10-hour shift and be paid underwage and just like suffering all the time. And they would always say that they actually came here in order for us to have a better education. They wanted us to acquire what they didn't have. And aside from that, I've always enjoyed going to school.
So, as I know that you've been really active in advocating for the DREAM Act. So, could you tell me how you, when you started being active in advocating for the DREAM Act, and how you realized, like, what were some ways that you realized you could help yourself and people who had similar struggles as you?
When I was in high school, me and 3 other students, as well as one of our closest teachers, we actually founded a after-school program called the Social Justice Club, where we actually talked about different problems going on around the world, international problems, local problems, any other political topics that were of interest to us. So from there, the actual teacher, he's really into a lot of politics, and he used to be really active at a young age, so he sparked that in us, in all of us. The DREAM Act didn't get introduced federally until 2001. I graduated the year of 2000, but prior to that, he had already an idea of what was going on, and he actually communicated it to us. And ever since then, since it was like a topic that really involved me, I became really interested, and I started to follow it. And in 2001, it got introduced, nothing happened, years went by, and then that's how I found this organization, which is called New York State Leadership Council, and they're based here in Manhattan. They started, their whole organization was founded in 2007, but they had done previous work. They had just not been recognized for it, and in 2007 they got this big recognition. They actually got recognized as a nonprofit organization, and they had this big mock graduation go down that day, and I was actually there. We went down to Washington, D.C. So we've been doing a lot of protests, and then, I mean, that's the way I've been trying to be active within the DREAM Act. Aside from that, I try to follow it as much as I can. I read about it. I know that this year, fortunately, New York, just as a state alone, wants to introduce the DREAM Act. So it will become the New York State DREAM Act, which instead of giving you 6 years of citizenship, which the DREAM Act was offering, the New York State DREAM Act would actually give you the opportunity to get financial and state aid for educational purposes. It would allow you to acquire a driver's license and apply for health insurance. And aside from that, it's they also give you the ability to apply for all internships regardless of your status. So that's a big plus. If we haven't been able to get the big DREAM Act come through, at least we're praying and we're hoping that the New York State one comes through this year.
And it'll eventually influence other states to do the same. Yeah, that's really amazing.
Yeah.
So could you tell me about, you know, one of these protests you went to, or one time where you were actively advocating for the DREAM Act, where you felt like there was one moment that was really important to you that really influenced you while being active, and how you saw how being with other immigrants who face the same struggle like made you feel. How did that make you feel?
I think all protest, all kind of active work that I've done towards the DREAM Act have had impacts, some major, some smaller in degree, but I would have to say one of them where I felt that it actually was a big challenge for me, and when we had completed it, I felt a huge accomplishment, was when we did the hunger strike for 10 days, close to 14 days. I saw all these other colleagues, go through body changes, because we're not used to doing this.
Yeah.
We went to a hunger strike. We camped outside of, Schumer's office, asking for a date to sit with us and just let us explain to him the importance of the DREAM Act in order for him to support it. During that course of the time we had to camp out, all we did was sit there as a group and just talk about experiences and goals and dreams, and then just bear with each other the whole wanting, the whole urge of feeling this moment of accomplishment, and just not letting ourselves down, because it was hard. It was really funny because we were camping out, and then in each corner there was actually a coffee stand. Mm-hmm. So every morning you would smell the coffee, or you would see all these people go by with their lunches and with their breakfast, and
it's like torture.
Yeah, it was definitely torture. But we got through. We lived off Gatorade and water, and then at the end, since it was getting really extreme, we had to drink Pediasure, and but it was pretty intense. And a lot of my colleagues out of the DREAM Act organization, they felt like I was doing something way out of proportion, but at the same time they were like, if this is what you believe, and if this is the reason you're fighting for, then we support you in all types of ways. My mom, she was like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
She's like, you're not in his and it was just like, okay, maybe I am, because I'm gonna push my body to an extreme limit, but she's known me as, just going off and doing stuff out of the random. Mm-hmm. So she supported me, everyone else did. But in the end, it was pretty cool. It was pretty amazing, the coverage and the media and all the stuff that went around us during that period of time.
That's amazing. So what do you think is, what is the most predominant struggle you see among you and these fellow, activists? And how do you think that's being addressed by the American politics and political officials?
Major struggles. There's endless things that I could put on the list, but definitely education. Statistically, we're talking about 65,000 students at least that are graduating from high school and are not able to go into a college, or at least a 2-year college, because they have no legal status. Yeah, there's CUNY. People say, well, you always have CUNY to choose from. Yeah, I probably do, but if I am an A+ student, an honor student, why wouldn't I be able to go to a 4-year college out of state where I could actually get all my education be paid for? Why would I have to struggle on a whole list of my whole expenses? It's just like it doesn't reason out with me. So definitely education, a big barrier. Aside from that, just jobly wise, it's just like there's no way where you could actually walk into a department or walk into an ideal job for you and be accepted only because of your legal status. So that becomes a big problem as well. You always have to live under this burden of, oh, what would happen if they find out I'm undocumented? It's like, am I going to get fired right away? Am I going to get jeopardized big time because I haven't been giving them my social security number? Because I'm using my IRS number, is that a fault? So it's always a huge problem, huge controversy. But colleagues, they've also struggled with just trying to blend into the community and just feeling like the rest of the people. Sometimes we get these like funny comments and just like really confusing the way people start to think about other people, just not trying to inform themselves before they actually speak. So just learning how to adjust to that community is also a problem. But you know, most of us are pretty mature enough to this point where we're like, okay, well, that's the way they think. The only thing I could do is teach them what I know and what I've lived through, and maybe they'll understand. And if they do, then that's great. And if they don't, then it's just like, I really can't do any more. It's just, I've given you what I could give you. If you want to take it in, then do.
So do you feel that when the DREAM Act is passed in New York State, or eventually when hopefully the DREAM Act is passed nationwide, how do you feel that these like community relationships and the influence, how do you feel like it'll influence not only you being immigrants who this act will like affect greatly, but how do you feel it will influence like America as a whole? And do you think that people will change?
If the DREAM Act gets passed within New York, you mean, or federal, like?
Either or. You can pick whichever one you want.
If we're talking about federally, then that would be a huge step. It would not only make other people understand that what we're asking for, it's not, education shouldn't be a priority. It's like, it should be a priority to you and to everyone else. Education in the end should be free of cost, because in the end, the people that it's going to benefit, it's you, me, and everyone else around you. If you give me the education, I'll be able to work. If I'm able to work, I'll be able to, give back to the United States in multiple ways. So positively speaking, it's a definite huge step. I think racism is still present in all kinds of ways, and just denying people the right to education, or people the right to, legally work here, or just like to comfortably live here. In the end, it's racist. You're limiting other people to do certain things that shouldn't be like. It's not that we take it. A lot of people take it for granted, but it's simple things that have been taken away from other people. And when we talk about other people, I mean in general, everyone from different countries, not only Mexico. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, when people say, oh, undocumented or illegal, they always tend to think that they're Mexican, and it's not true. We have, numerous people where they come from Ecuador, from China, from Afghanistan. We have numerous cases where I've seen within New York State Leadership Council, and it's quite surprising.